You're listening to the New Old Heads podcast, shot live every Tuesday at twitch.tv/newoldheads and released every Thursday at noon via bringingdowntheband.com. The show is brought to you by Coleman Dental, Printfinity, Indie CD and Vinyl. Support the show directly by becoming a member at patreon.com/newoldheads. You are now listening, and some of you are viewing the New Old Heads podcast, episode 397. We're back in the building, in our new building, if you will. I mean, it's new to us, so it's all good. We got a special guest. He's not really a special guest anymore. I don't want to say he's not special, but, you know, he's been around for a while, but he's still a guest.
I think you're special, man.
Yeah. Brother to the Night is in the building today.
What's up, y'all? How y'all doing?
Kicking but not high, flapping but can't fly. You know the vibes.
Always.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And, of course, my man Lonegevity, who is very busy clicking buttons and making sure everything is on point today.
Yeah. Doing all right.
He's doing all right? Okay.
Getting acclimated.
Yes.
Still. Doing all right.
That's a big deal. And last but not least, Jay Diff is in the building. How are you doing, sir?
Salutations.
That's what I like to hear,
Yes, indeed. I'm here.
Okay.
As you are.
Yeah.
We are, actually.
We are all here.
When your favorite artist falls in love, you know what I mean? Like growing with your artist, you know what I mean? And sometimes we don't grow with our artists. A lot of people are saying this about Drake right now, you know what I mean? Because it's the opposite end. His audience is growing, but his music isn't. I've come to find out, you know what I mean? Like I was analyzing my guy, Big Crit. What I'm about to say is not fair. Okay. I'll start that off. To me, Big Crit, once he got with Amari Ruby, I think that was her name, his sound changed drastically. You know what I mean? And like, I was like, man, this dude, like, I'm all for my artists being in love. I've heard it on the R&B side. You know what I mean? Like, people want Angry Mary. They want, Heartbroken Mary.
Okay.
But we never talk about that with our, like, rappers. You know what I mean? And it's several changes in artists that we've seen. Like a lot of people didn't mess with Comment on Worldwide Underground when he was in love.
No, you're talking about the Electric Circus.
Electric Circus, yeah, my bad. Worldwide Underground was Erica.
That was Erica.
Yeah. But once he was with her, you know what I mean? He became somewhat different. He grew into somebody different. And a lot of people didn't like Electric Circus. You know what I mean?
At the time.
At the time.
It was ahead of his time. Yeah.
At the time. Yeah. Erica has that same effect.
And he was wearing those knit.
Yes. Crochet pants.
Hats and stuff.
How has that happened to you guys where somebody?
Me personally,
there was a change. You know what I mean?
I got an entire project called Love Redefined.
Hey, that literally is fire though.
But
it's fire.
It's very it's a moment piece
in time.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
Hell, Chance.
Yeah, I think in general,
Chance just dropped a fire ass.
Yeah, and he's getting a divorce, so maybe he's getting back to himself.
Hey, yeah.
So I think. So what's the bigger question you're asking here? Like, is because you kind of started this off by saying it's not fair.
It's not fair.
Right?
Yeah, I agree. It's not fair.
You're saying it's not fair for us to critique what an artist is going through because this is their outlet?
Or is it more so like it's just not fair? It's like we want the artist to go through different things, so we experience stuff different, but maybe that experience takes them in a different place musically than we want as fans.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. You know,
as an artist in general, I'm just going to speak from personal experience, and if you don't like my music, that's cool. But when I made the record that I made, I didn't even want to put it out because it was so particular. Personal. It was so personal and everything. And when I finally decided to put it out, I didn't really put it out for much reason outside of just to put it out. I didn't have any I didn't expect to gain new fans or keep anybody. I almost didn't want people to listen to it. It was kind of weird, but just because it was super personal and it was just very super niche.
That's bold.
Yeah, I think in a way, it was definitely bold, but I think as an artist, sometimes you have to challenge. I think it's important, I think it's important to put that out there because sometimes the people that rock with you will either catch it right then, or maybe they won't, or maybe they will in the future. But you can't really
worry about that.
You can't really worry about that from a creative standpoint. And, you know, like, especially if you're really trying to just be yourself and share who you are with your art. You know what I mean? So I feel like Common went through that. He's talked about that. You know, I feel like all of our artists really kind of go through it at some point in time.
Man, it's something about that boy.
Look, her candle sold out. I was just saying
telling
like
you.
that.
Yeah.
She's a gypsy.
I tried to buy some.
Literally everybody that she's messed with, she's changed in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Not the DOC.
That's an anomaly.
Well,
I don't know.
Common came out and said that she was not personally responsible for him wearing crochet pants.
I don't believe that.
He said, you know, maybe a little influence, but not, she didn't dress me.
No, she put that snapper on him and it opened his eyes to a
That's
whole
the thing.
nother
She
dimension.
wasn't putting that snapper on him, and he still put on them clothes.
Well, there's that.
What do
I'm
you think?
afraid
Sucks for
of that.
him.
Yeah, I'm afraid of that.
Well, do you think? I mean, are we when artists fall in love? That seems to yield worse results than when they're going through heartbreak.
When they break up.
You know, because we got
Eminem
Life is
in
Good.
Love.
We got Life is Good from Heartbreak.
Yeah.
He's on the cover. Nas is on the cover of that album with this
Wedding
his
dress.
ex-wife's wedding dress. Like it's almost like it's almost like his "Here My Dear."
Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
And people, the thing is, like at the time, people were not checking for "Here My Dear" when you read about the history of that album. But I think it's because, you know, when you come off of doing some very not even mainstream. I think that was because that was after What's Going On.
Yeah, I was about to say he's conscious.
Yeah, and so, but still, What's Going
World
On
changing.
was a monster, and then you come with this divorce settlement album, double album at that, and it's like, no, we're not trying to hear all this right now.
That's interesting, because I think that I would probably say that I would probably appreciate the product that comes from
The love.
The heartbreak.
the heartbreak.
Yeah,
Well, that's what it
precisely.
is.
That's what we say.
You know what I mean?
the
Like as
heartbreak
opposed to the love songs, I feel like there's just more. Maybe it's also just because I don't like happy songs.
Yeah.
I mean, like in that aspect, you know, like I like stuff that's a little bit
Like
more
the tone of the records.
Yeah, the tone of the records in general. But
The thing about Heartbreak Records too is a lot of times as an artist, once they're with this individual, they change during that time. And you might not subconsciously, you don't know, but it's because of this significant other that they have, reason why their sound changed a little bit. And then once they kind of get over it, it brings it back to where they're embracing themselves again, but giving you the perspective of what they were when they were going through that heartache or that relationship that didn't serve them as well.
right.
But on the other end, you have some artists that are able to navigate through
All of that.
the whole thing, and you never know, and they just give you a bomb project.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Even R&B wise, everybody know Usher Confessions is essentially a heartbreak album.
but that's a different.
You saying you want
Confessions is
more
different.
hip hop type
No,
stuff? though.
I'm saying Confessions is different just because it was a whole lot of hands in the pot. You know what I mean?
It wasn't
Usher didn't
personal.
write. Yeah, Usher didn't write Confessions.
Right,
You know what I'm
right.
saying? With the hip hop artist, most times you're gonna get the artist perspective, so you're hearing directly from the artist.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. In general, though, like about the, you know, how though, and I think we could even take it outside of like love specifically, because it's really just anything like drastic that changes with an artist.
Yeah.
You might get something crazy, but the love thing specifically, I think another thing about coming out of a situation or something is it's not usually there's different types of growth involved as well. And so the topic matter may be about more than just F this person. You know, it may also be like I grew in these types of areas, or this is the stuff that I learned, or, you know, all this other could be anything, you know, and I think that's where a lot of maybe that angst or something.
But it's something
That's
like
why Taylor Swift is top of the food chain right now, because she always has
Heartbreak.
a heartbreak album that comes out and serves its purpose.
I couldn't tell you a Taylor Swift song if I heard
couldn't
it.
either, but hey, she's doing numbers.
I can, unfortunately.
I know
I've had to do something. I had to do a couple parties.
School
where-
dances, I actually do got a little bit in my Serato from that, but I don't know them.
Come on,
So-
everybody knows Shake It Off. You got to know Shake It Off.
So what do you guys think? So in general, like with this whole love conversation, would you prefer, you know, somebody? Is there a formula for doing this the right way?
It depends on where you are as a person. Right now, I'm in a situation, I don't want to hear no happy love songs.
It depends. I mean,
I hear. So there's a song that I should be depressed by listening to. I was trying to find it in my phone. I know. I know it is Lost Cause. But it's just like I don't want to. So I find some sort of solace and comfort in hearing songs about heartbreak and despair.
I do too sometimes.
Right now, that's where I'm at right now in my life. I don't want to hear. I don't want to hear about walks in the park and all that. I just don't want to hear it.
nah.
Because that's not where I'm at.
Right.
Well, not even just love, but just life transitions. Like Kendrick's last album didn't receive as good as fanfare as his other albums because it's based off of. It's not happy, joyful. It's not.
Yeah, that's true.
It's a therapy session essentially.
Yeah.
And people don't want to hear that. And it depends on it. It depends on what an artist is going through and what their listeners are going through as well. Because if I'm not feeling that, if I'm not at that point in my life where I'm ready to receive a therapy session, then I don't want to listen to it.
Yeah.
But if I'm going through something and can kind of relate to it on certain things, then yeah, it's therapeutic to the listener as well. You know what I'm saying?
And to keep it a buck, man, like when that's just as a human, man, when you attach yourself to another person, man, you essentially lose a little piece of yourself.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So again, that's what I meant. Like, it's not fair, man.
Yeah,
you know
yeah,
what I mean? Because
I think we can all acknowledge that it's not fair necessarily for a fan in general to have, like it's our job as fans to appreciate the stuff
whatever
that's out
you
there.
give me.
Yeah, like appreciate it for what it is. You don't have to necessarily, like, I listened to Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers like one time. I appreciated it for what it is.
And
I didn't really
don't
really need to go back. It's just what it is.
It was a great album.
It was a great
hard
album
to listen
I
to.
thought it was good. I thought it was good. But there are a lot of albums that are like that for me. Like people love To Pimp. Now, actually, I went back to Pimp a Butterfly recently.
I love that.
It must have been originally where I was when that
fire.
came out. It must have been originally where I was when that came out because I appreciated it, but I liked it a lot. But I didn't go back to it. And I did recently. I was like, oh, this is actually really good. Like better than I had remembered.
fire.
Yeah, it's fine.
But I think a lot of times just us as listeners, say it many times, music marks time, wherever we're at, just some artists seem to resonate always with us in a particular way. And
You don't want them to deviate from that.
Yeah. And that's why I always end up giving Kanye a pass because so many of his albums worked for me where I was at in life. And a lot of the content he was talking about was literally what I was going through at that exact moment.
Yeah.
That's why I always give Kanye a chance because it's like he was human. I mean, he's still human, but at one point in time, his content was very relatable to me.
Yeah.
And that stands out. So every time I see a Kanye project about to come out, I know I'm probably not going to feel it, but I'm going to give it a chance based off what he did for me in the past.
Okay, with that being said, though, how many chances do you give to them to a certain point? Because that's where I'm at with some of these people that we've discussed. You know what I mean? Like, all right, man, I'm to the point now where I know you're never going to be.
Because sometimes artists do make a hard, like a heavy turn, and they never are that same person again. True. And if that's the case, then you can be a fan of somebody previously, and just not anymore. That's just normal.
And is only going to perform all old. I'm in attendance.
I'm scared of that because
it's going to go left. Huh?
Yep.
They're going to get up there and make a speech for 20 minutes.
I think that's the interesting thing about my favorite rapper, Fonte, is that I've been able to continually go with where he's at
his life.
The adult contemporary hip hop.
But I mean, but even still, like a lot of the stuff that we're talking about could be considered adult contemporary hip hop. But Fonte specifically does it in such a way that
is growing with you.
Yeah, and I don't know. I don't know if it's subject matter or how he does it.
Maybe it's how he does it. Just because homie done went through a couple divorces.
He has.
You know what I mean? And even when he was singing.
Yeah,
it was fire.
Yeah,
everything.
Leave It All Behind is the Divorce album.
Yeah.
So
it was heartbreak.
The thing is with Fonte is like because of just his personality, he's never rapped about his raps and his whole style has never been about the fantasy of living life in Black America like so much of pop music is.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, don't be wrong. We just reviewed the Memphis Bleak for people who are on our
Balling
Patreon.
and popping bottles.
That's a fantasy. That's about the fantasy of black life in Black America. Nobody actually lives like that all the time. Like Fonte raps about having, working for a non-for-profit and having, your project defunded but you work the whole week. It's like, why didn't you tell me on Monday? I felt that because once again, I was working for a non-for-profit at the time.
Right.
That's what we talk about.
I'm getting older. I got to eat different.
Yeah. We talk about just the relatability of some artists and how honestly that relatability leads to their longevity, and they're not trying to hold on to like what they were doing when they were 24, because it's like nobody, if you 24 and like what I was doing when I can't say, maybe not me because of, my lifestyle and how I work, but like I don't have the appreciation and like when it's time to go, I cut them lights on. I don't know if you notice this. I turn the air conditioner off.
Oh, I recognize.
Because I want people to leave so I can leave.
Everybody in there recognize.
Yeah.
Because you make it known.
Yeah. And so
please don't be that person.
Yeah, don't be that person.
Yeah.
But and just for props to the song I was talking about, at one point I was listening to multiple times a day just for my own mental health. It's called Save Me by Jelly Roll and Lainey Wilson. I
just heard that recently.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Not to get deep. But I'm just saying, like, when we talk about relating to the artist, whether they're going through heartbreak, when they're in love, like I said, it really is about where we are at that time. And I know some people, they probably listen to Fonte and they're just bored by it because it is about real life. It is about family. It is about, maintaining your sanity through the destruction of a relationship. You're talking about eating better and taking care of your kids. But, there's no fantasy in his music.
See, I think a lot of people that listen to music too use music as an escape to escape their reality. And a lot of times the things that a lot of these artists are talking about, they're going through, but it doesn't serve as a comfort to them. Whereas me, if I'm going through something and somebody else is going through it and they're talking about it, it helps me.
Twin flames.
Yeah, it kind of helps me because they're actually addressing it. That's why Tupac's Me Against the World is one of my go-to albums every time I'm going through stuff. Because it's like you can tell that he's going through a lot of shit during that album and he's putting it out there and you can feel it. And I don't know. I resonate with artists that can do that and maneuver and actually can put me in that same situation. And then I come out differently. I come out refreshed afterwards after actually going through it.
Just you've got to do it well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And some of my favorite artists just haven't been coming with it. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I think maybe it's like a paradigm shift that some of us. I'm not even. This isn't even about you. I do it as well. But it's like, when it's your favorite artist and you're waiting for them and then they drop something and you're just like, man, I was ready.
So bored.
I was ready.
Yeah.
But I think in general as consumers, we've become very
entitled.
Yeah. We've just been very entitled. And I think instead of like looking towards, and I know this is, obviously we want what we want from the people we want it from, but it's like the way that I approached the Kendrick stuff was like, okay, he's still an amazing person. It doesn't change how I look at his artistry or anything like this, but it's just where it's like the Andre conversation, right? Andre doesn't have to give us anything else. Yes, we want more from him, but he's given us enough to appreciate that. And I think even Fonte said at one point, if you want my old stuff, buy my old, no, that was Jay. If you want my old stuff, buy my old albums and stuff, I think that's really real. Like you can like my music from 2011 and 2012 and hated everything afterward, or vice versa. It just means that you like a period of time that I went through in different artists as well. Like I'm more of a fan of Big Crit during one very particular. It's probably not even your guys's because I've heard. I know you guys have been fans of Crit for a lot longer, but like I really like the Cadillactica project.
Me too.
And I don't even think that most Crit fans would say that is one of his better ones.
It's not.
I liked everything before that.
But at the same time,
everything before that.
But with that being said, that's that moment for me, and it's every single artist that I, enjoy to some degree. I have that with. It's just like Blue in Exile or Blues Below the Heavens. He's dropped a lot of good music after that.
But it ain't been below the heavens.
But it hasn't resonated the same, and that's not his fault. And it's not like he's really putting out bad music. I think that was just a moment. Like I know it was a moment for me. I remember going and seeing them in Chicago in 2007 with my friends. Like I just remember being, discovering that. And it's not even that, again, it's not even that he's put out bad music since, because he's continually putting out good music. It's just, it's more about me than it is them. And I think sometimes that's hard to.
That's sad.
It is.
Well, I mean, a lot of times we can use it to reference to Pimp a Butterfly. I think there are some people who are disappointed or couldn't get into that album because they're like, they wanted Good Kid, Mad City 2.
Nah,
and he just took it somewhere else with the Pimp a Butterfly.
So I was there, but when I was able to actually just sit back and digest it. Like after the first 2, maybe 3 songs, I recognized this is I'm not getting that. You know what I mean? So let me just sit with what I'm getting
funky.
now.
Yeah.
And I mean, To Pimp a Butterfly I think it's like the thriller of his time to me, as far as like it told a story.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Without me even having to watch it. You know what I mean? I could hear it.
Well, because I hated when he put they're premiering like world premiere new Kendrick Lamar, and they played I Love Myself.
That was terrible.
I was like, what
That was
the
his
heck?
single.
That was terrible. But that was terrible to come with.
When you hear it in the context of the whole album,
It works.
Yeah.
it makes sense. But like for them to be like debuting, and I was like, get this.
It's
off
gonna
my
turn
radio.
people off immediately.
But honestly, I thought the same thing. Like, you know what I did not like? Gold Digger.
Mm.
I didn't care for that record at all
Kanye.
when I first heard it.
And I love that album.
Yes.
Yeah, I love that album.
Yeah.
And then honestly, it's still to this day, it's probably one of my least favorite songs on that album. But there's so much heat on that album. That's saying something different.
Yeah. A good conversation. Happy you brought that up. Happy you were here to talk about your
angst against.
well, just you were here to, it was your idea.
Yeah, I'm glad you guys allowed me here.
Thanks for filling
It's your
in.
controversial opinions.
Yeah. Thanks to our partners. Dr. Coleman of Coleman Dental is our go-to dentist. He's a longtime Indianapolis arts and music supporter located right in Broad Ripple. Printfinity is a screen printing shop based in Indianapolis, owned and operated by our own DJ Jay Diff. Our good friends at Indie CD and Vinyl operate one of the best record stores in North America. Shop new and used in their site or visit them in person. And the best way to support the New Old Heads is to visit our Patreon and become a member for as little as $3 a month. All details on newoldheads.com. Shouts to our partners. Again, shouts to Brother Tonight for filling in for Maja 7th.
Shout out to everybody in whatever chat you're into right now.
All right, this is Get the Cheat Code, which is a cool podcast for creatives. So let's go ahead and
just get together and create beautiful music. I say, man, have that tough conversation immediately. Hey, man.
Agreed. Get used to it.
Let's go ahead and get the legal stuff taken care of now.
Yes.
Before we even get in here and make a hit, why would we wait till after somebody in the room may feel that one side deserves more than the other before trying to agree to an even? Why not discuss that before we even get into the room? If I don't have no leverage and I want to come to your studio and you want to produce for me, hey, bro, anything I make off top, I'm gonna need $2,000 for a song. Thank you. I ain't got it right now, bro, even if I loved your music. So I'm gonna go. No, you want me to come in here, bring all of my hopes and aspirations and pour onto this and let you butter me up because you know the game, I don't. So you know that as long as you get me to sit in here and make all these phenomenal songs, you get me to sit in here 20 hours and you charged Atlantic Records $300 an hour, then I owe you $6,000 on paper. Of course you want me to sit in here and make all of these records, my boy.
My boy.
Boy.
Talking about splits.
I think it's talking specifically about artists and how important it is to be upfront
Yeah.
with these conversations when you're in these rooms, and even in general when you're just working with people.
I think it really matters what level of creative you are too, because both broke.
Well, you still want to have.
I think
it
that
on paper,
I think
though.
that was his point though, because what if it blows up?
Yeah,
You know,
and that's the issue that Glorilla ran into when FNF came.
I think
came out.
I think it's always gonna happen that way though, just because.
Well, they're saying this is the way to avoid it, because like if we're gonna make this song, right?
ain't no way
Even
to
though we don't
avoid
have
that,
have
man.
any money.
Yeah.
Okay, we don't have any money right now.
it's called a split sheet.
Right, but you put it down. Okay, we're gonna make the song. We're gonna put it out. We don't have any figures because we don't have any money, but we just have to do percentages.
Uh-huh.
How much am I going to get off of this if this does this? How much are you going to get off
And
of this?
it's
if
on
this
paper.
does this? It's on paper. All right, let's move forward.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I mean, that's damn near.
But they said to do that beforehand. I think that's tough to do, just because nobody knew what FNF was going to be until after they heard FNF.
I think it's a mindset shift for artists.
Okay.
Like, so if I go sit down with somebody or somebody comes over and we're working on music, it's like, all right, cool. It's like establishing that conversation. Like, look, whatever we're doing, this is what it's going to look like. Mm-hmm. Are you cool with that? Are you not cool with that? Cool. Let's fill out this split sheet real quick. Let's sign it, and then we can do whatever we need to do. Mm-hmm. I think it's just changing the expectations when you go and work, and just it's being good about the business so that the business doesn't end up halting anything in the long run. You know, I've to be honest, I've never done this, but you know.
But it makes sense at the end of the day, and then even some artists that you're working with are probably going to appreciate that because it makes them feel bigger than what they actually are, maybe.
Yeah, actually, I can't say that I've never done that because I literally just did this 2 weeks ago. So, but it was virtually; it wasn't in person. You know what I mean? So, but I think that conversation is important, and I think it'll help headaches and whatnot.
Well, you know, just on another level, because we talked about F&F, and that was a crazy situation. Because, you know, once something goes to number one and you don't have the paperwork together, that's always going to cause some problems. Mm-hmm. But when Common was working on like Water for Chocolate, there was more than one person that said, you need to leave the light off of that album. Mm-hmm. His manager said it, you know, I think there were some people who were close to Jay Dilla was like, nah, you know, it doesn't fit with the rest of what Jay Dilla did on that album. But from his manager standpoint, it was like once they tried to get, you know, because there's a sample in there. Shout out to Bobby Caldwell, rest in peace. You know, people don't. This was a time people wouldn't complain about their money. He has Bobby Caldwell's estate now has 100% of the publishing
for that song.
Yes,
that's fine.
Yeah, and Common was like, yeah, it is what it is. Yeah, but you know what that song did for Common's career overall, exactly, was worth it.
It paid off.
Now he still has from what I understand, you know, it's not like a Lord Tariq and Peter Gunn situation where he had to give up the songwriting too. But of course he cleared the sample ahead of time, you know, but like there are people who will advise you to make decisions based on business where you're like, no, artistically and for my career, this is what this song is going to do. That gave Common his first gold album.
So the Common still gets performance royalties on that though, right?
Like he gets the songwriting, but the publishing is
the publishing.
Okay, so but it doesn't like it still has his name on it as the songwriter. Like it says the guys in Steely Dan wrote Deja Vu. It doesn't. Lord Tariq and Peter Gunn's their names aren't even on that record.
Yeah, I'd be curious about the specifics of it because there's typically two ways you get paid from that. So it's like. I broke this down once on the show a few months back, but it's like
mechanical and performance royalties.
So you have your mechanicals essentially. So you have your distribution, right? So you put it on your platforms and all that nonsense. You're going to get money whenever it streams or whenever somebody physically buys it, right? So that's one way. But then the other side of that is your songwriting royalties, which is the same as publishing, and that is typically what's split. Between like a publishing company and then all the writers being the producers and all the sample people, they're all writers.
Back when I was writing and things of that nature, man, like I wouldn't mind sampling nothing. If it gets big enough to the point where somebody is coming at me about sampling,
that's a good problem.
Yeah, so I don't care nothing about it. Yeah,
because the song we just reviewed has a very clear sample.
Yes,
and I'm like, okay. Did they take care of that business, or is it because it's an underground situation?
Probably not.
Stevie Wonder probably costs a little bit of money.
And plus, Stevie Wonder got to listen to the song and like the content.
Yeah.
And I would also say, with all this being said, like when we're talking about split sheets, back to kind of the point, like I don't think that's part of the negotiation here.
No,
it's just between the people sitting in the room. People sit in the room because once you sit down and you actually have to fill out everything else, you're going to have to declare that stuff anyways, or you don't have to, I guess. But the way that things are changing anymore, like they're introducing more and more requirements for putting music out. Apple Music just recently made a new requirement where every song that has lyrics has to have literally the lyrics written out when they're submitted. So that's a brand new requirement, which you would think, you know, from a consumer standpoint, why wouldn't you do that? But a lot of artists just don't do it just because like I've never done it. You know, it's just.
Nah, it used to be a plus if you got an album and when you open the liner notes and the lyrics were in there. Yeah. So you're like, oh, they spent some money putting this out.
Yeah. So I think
that was a book.
Yeah.
I think that's a good thing for artists to do, but it wasn't standard across the board. Right. So that's kind of it. So, you know, split sheets, I think in general, I think it's always good to be about your business. And I think being proactive about when you're sitting down with somebody saying, hey, you know, I really want to work with you. what makes the most sense instead of just assuming, because if a record does pop off and you don't have anything on paper, then as we've seen from history, it can be a problem. So
Yeah, absolutely. I think it just makes sense. At the end, I mean, if you're serious about your craft and you definitely want to get paid, then it's just something you should do. I mean, it's kind of cut and dry.
Pretty much. Yeah, I'd actually pretty much just kind of agree with what they said. So
Be about your paper, man. Fetty, Skrilla, Scratch, man.
all right, so yeah, this is young artists need to stop being mysterious. So I guess we can see what they're talking about.
I think it's the big thing too. Like, you got to be interesting in so many other areas to be mysterious, and that's usually the issue to me. Is like a lot of these artists aren't interesting enough to try to hide things from the public, right? It's like, no, at this stage, you need whatever little piece of information might get people hooked. That could be how you look, that could be your backstory, that could be your situation. It's like, but the artists that we do see even attempt to do it moderately well, let's say like a Playboy Cardi. Like Playboy Cardi is
he's a really good one.
Yeah, but his entire life is interesting at this point. Like he does interesting things in other ways, so where you're kind of like, okay, I can afford, I'm cool with you pulling back because I know that when you do pop out, it's going to be interesting. You'll see a lot of artists who want to be mysterious, but then when they pop out, it's just like the same the artists are doing. So then you kind of feel as a fan like, damn, bro, I waited all this time and went through all this for nothing.
I don't know why this is funny.
Because I look at him.
I don't know, man. Look, I don't know who none of these people are.
I don't either.
I'm telling you right now.
Everybody looks the same.
Look, he brought up Playboy Cardi. Playboy Cardi could walk down those stairs right now with a T-shirt that said, I'm Playboy Cardi, and I just have to take his word for it.
Yeah.
I know, unfortunately, just because that's my son's favorite artist.
So what do you think about the mysterious? You know, artists should stop
mysterious.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, why is this funny to me? That's why. Making all this mysterious music.
Not no mysterious and you never hear it.
We're all over the place.
Yeah, man,
okay.
I'm sorry.
Here's what I would say to that. Your face bar. I think I agree with what he's saying. We're in an interesting place in music where he was making points about how sometimes you just have to get people's attention.
Hey, man, I'm sorry because I picture a lot of these mysterious motherfuckers. Used to watch a lot of Naruto.
Oh yeah,
with their hands behind their back and shit.
But no, like we're in a place in time right now to where like you have to be interesting. Like you have to be interesting, and there's a lot of people who are famous musicians right now
that just aren't interesting.
that are on the opposite. They don't even make music well, but they're interesting.
Oh.
And so like people pay attention to their music because they're interesting, not because their music is actually good.
Yeah, like Meg and
Playboy Cardi is a perfect example.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you guys like Playboy Cardi, and maybe you do, and maybe you're watching art, but his stuff is not good to me.
I'm good.
But that's me.
So his actual songs I don't like, but whoever that Adrian dude is,
I don't know who that is either.
he's a producer. He redid Whole Lot of Red, and I love that record.
Okay.
Well, either way, I think there's a lot of mysterious people out here that are making music in their bedrooms, and they're not as entertaining as some of the people that don't have music as the forefront of what they do, and they understand content. And that's kind of where we are in general right now, is people are trying to find those 20 minutes of. You know, they're just trying to find the thing. And the Hawk Tuah Girl is a perfect example of not having any type of talent whatsoever, but turning it into appearances and into something else. The Paul brothers are the same thing. You know, it's like you just have to grab attention, and then you can turn it into whatever you want to do instead of just actually making music that people care about.
And that's the part that sucks about it, you know what I mean? Because you don't want a musician no more.
Yeah.
You want a personality.
Yeah.
A personality, or just somebody who's going to make me laugh for these 20 seconds.
I think we talked about that the last time I was on the show, about like the record business is selling personality anymore. It's not selling good music.
Yep.
And you know, that's disheartening.
It's sad, man.
Yeah.
I mean, it is disheartening. It's and I think so, to his point, like he's got a point. Like you do have to maybe the solution to being a mysterious musician is to just put yourself out there more and to find yourself. Because I think a lot of artists, you know, I've been preaching this to a lot of my students for a while. Like, you have to mirror content with your music. You have to figure out, shouts to the Gobinator who was over earlier. That's what we talked about entirely for 2 hours today, was like how to organize, you know, yes, you're going to make the music, but how do you plan to put this out? How do you put yourself out there now in 2024, 2025 to get people? Sure, you can make great music, but how do you grab people's attention? And that's the hard part.
I think a lot of people's problem is, okay, so I consider myself introvert to extrovert. You know what I'm saying? And I do the extroverted version of me when I have to. Otherwise, I'm more reserved into myself. You know what I'm saying? But a lot of these mysterious people or artists that they're talking about, and I see this a lot here locally, they think it's a flex that I have all of this music that I've never put out and nobody's ever heard because they're not going to understand me. Okay, I'll take your word for it.
Yeah,
don't put it out then.
Because I wouldn't know.
I wouldn't know.
Yeah.
So you're literally putting yourself in a hole, and then you act like everybody owes you something, but you're not giving anything other than this persona that you want everybody to think that you got all this stuff that nobody's going to understand and
or see,
and I'm never going to put it out, but it's so good. Is it though?
Yeah.
I think to that though, like I agree with that, but I think what a lot of people struggle with is just they know, like we know now that no matter how good your music is, how many people watch something or view something, even like what we do, it's not, one thing doesn't reflect the other. No matter how good you are, it does not, like the amount of people that are viewing what you do or listening to what you do is not a direct, it's nowhere even close to a close correlation to how good something is.
Right.
True.
And that's what we're coming to grips with, which is why I always joke with a lot of my students, that my younger students that come in, when I tell them I'm a musician, they'll always say like, well, how many views or how many listens do you do? Like, you know, I have
How many followers do you have?
yeah, that, you know, it's like followers are our vanity stat at this point, you know, like, so, and you're talking to somebody who's grown stuff that has a lot of followers, but at the same time, I can also have the conversation with you to say that the subscriber mark is a vanity stat. It has no merit whether people will come back and watch stuff, you know, because of how the algorithms are set up, because of how everything is focused on attention right now. And so to your point, Terry, like, I feel like I get that. And I think you can't just sit with your stuff forever, but it's not necessarily their fault because everything is going against artistry.
Well, see, the reason why I bring it up is because you have the anomaly, which is Playboy Cardi. His whole aura is mysterious. As far as on the hip hop side, I mean, we've heard of other artists that kind of
I don't
do
really
that as well.
view him as a hip hop artist.
I don't either, but I mean, they put him in that category.
Is he considered mysterious?
Yeah,
I mean, because you don't hear him talk to anybody. You don't see him talk to anybody. He's featured on stuff. He dresses weird. He does, you know what I'm saying?
He's the anomaly, though.
Yeah,
he's the exception.
He's the anomaly. Everybody wants to be that, and you have to understand.
You think so?
Well, the people that want to be the mysterious artists,
yeah,
they think that they can just be real elusive.
Well, they'll play off of that. They'll see that he does it and feel like, oh, this will work for me.
But he's not in the same rooms as he's in.
No.
He might be related to somebody that's in the industry and was like, hey, my guy got some good shit. Do me a favor, put him on something. That might be how he made it. Might not be. I'm just making up some
right.
But at the end of the day, he's in the right rooms to rub elbows with these people. You as an artist that nobody knows, you being elusive and mysterious is
does not work.
It's not going to get you anywhere.
Nowhere.
Even if you were to put stuff out and not even tag yourself like this is the secret artist, blah, 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 it still doesn't help you because anybody can claim that.
Yeah,
honestly, at this point, the way there's just so much content out here to be consumed, and you have to wade through all the noise. If you want to be mysterious, you might as well just find something else to do. Like,
be a magician.
Yeah, but you can't even be that's weird to say. You can't be a mysterious magician, but that's kind of goes hand in hand. But as a musician, look, okay, say for every one piece of content that you put out is about your music, you need to be like, oh, this is me going to the gym. This is me going to get a smoothie. This is me taking my dog to get groomed. This is me going back to see my high school football team play. People have to know something about you to care about you. And I would almost say for every piece of music that you put out, something's directly correlated to your art, you need to put out 5 to 10 pieces of information about yourself, you know, on your Instagram, on your TikTok that have nothing to do with that, so people can stay engaged. And if you want to be mysterious, like First of all, wasn't nobody more mysterious than MF Doom. All right, he was dead for 4 or 5 months before we even knew.
True.
You know.
Yeah, he died on Halloween, which was crazy.
But we didn't know till like Christmas.
Yeah.
And like, it doesn't get more mysterious than that. Like people would show up to MF Doom concerts and find out it wasn't even him.
Yeah.
You know, so if you're trying to do that in 2024, I'd be like, you really don't want to do this like that. You just want to hope that something catches and you don't have to do a lot of work. That part. Yeah. So now if you are an artist and you really want people to pay attention and care about what you do, you need to make your daily routine, whether it has to do with you, your art or not, part of your social media. Like if you still got a job and you record at night, you need to go in and talk about, yeah, man, I got to go on here to Amazon and make it happen so I can get this money for the studio time. So people can almost see your story and your progression in real time. If you're not willing to do that, because people at this point, if they're not interested in you being mysterious and just showing up, with a mask and a weird coat, like, and then, a bunch of wingdings under your, like, that's not going to do it.
Or just sell your content, share your content.
Yeah, it's
what I'm saying? If you create something, share it. At least let that speak for you versus you just being this person that's being a recluse with your art. You can't say that I'm this great artist and have nothing to show for it, because at the end of the day, people don't care anyway.
I don't have to say about none of this, man, because y'all kind of preaching to me.
I mean, I think a step further is like to Jay's point, you can share, you want people to know about you, but there are ways that you can tailor your content to make it close to what you're doing. Like, for example, one thing that we could do more of on this show, which I haven't, and remind me before everybody leaves, is snap pictures of us behind the scenes and share them on our Instagram and our other pages, right? That's a small little thing that we could do in between us sharing clips throughout the week of us talking. We don't have to like share stuff on our new old hit Instagram of when Terry goes to buy milk. Like we can because that would actually boost it. But if you don't want to go that far, there are other ways
that we working.
There's other ways that you can do to share your stuff that's related to what you're doing. If you don't want to reveal too much, like if you want to be kind of mysterious, or maybe you're young too, because there's a lot of young artists out there that are like 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. They're minors, maybe they don't want to share their stuff out there. That's cool as well. But I think in general, well, maybe not 12, but actually I do have a producer kid that's actually super dope and he's 12, but in one of my classes, but there are ways that you can do it, but you have to incorporate sharing yourself to some degree with people. Otherwise, you're just going to fail. So, and it's a catch-22. It sucks to a degree, but it.
Yeah, what a lot of people don't understand too now as an artists in the past that did use that mysterious persona had an AR and a record label working for them to promote for them.
They had money behind it.
So all they had to do was show up, do their thing,
and then they can go home.
The record label was going to create the buzz and create, everybody will create fans essentially for them. They didn't have to do that. Yeah. They showed up and did their thing and went on about their business. The game is a lot different now. You can't be mysterious on the internet, on TikTok, and not have nothing to show for it. Just talking about what you're going to do and not doing it. Yeah.
And you have to, you just have to show people. You just got to show people.
You got to step out.
My problem, man, is sometimes you got to pop out and show.
Pop out, yeah.
My problem is, I'm a perfectionist sometimes. So if it don't come out how I want it to look, if it don't look a certain way, it doesn't have a certain aesthetic, then I don't think it need to be put out.
I don't think that comes from a mysterious artist point because I'm the same way. These people aren't doing anything. Yeah. Or they rely on their attire maybe to make them seem like this super crazy.
But it's still in the ballpark, though. I think it's
kind of, but that's more.
It is in the ballpark.
That goes more to what I was talking about being a introverted extrovert. I do extroverted things, but I'm an introvert. At the end of the day, I don't. Sometimes sharing myself like that online is difficult for me.
But so I guess that's what I'm saying. Like to what you're saying, Byron, specifically, like that's working on a mix or whatever it is that you're doing specifically. You don't have to necessarily put out a mix just because you need content. You could do similar to what Jay said or what I said. You could share stuff related to the stuff that goes into it, into the process. And you can do that for months before you drop something else, because you're going to generate more personal relationships from people that can relate to the things you're doing, as opposed to just dropping mixes and just. And to me, it's just as bad if you have a bunch of content and you're just putting content out constantly. Like, you have to give people the realness.
As an introvert, it's almost more stressful to do it like that. Honestly.
What do you mean?
To do it and show you what I'm doing.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Versus me just doing it, getting it done, and then putting it out.
Yeah, I'm that's most of what I do is I just show the work. That's what I do with damn near everything. That's one thing that we could do better with our content system, is actually showing us more as opposed to just the work of the show. You know what I mean? So
there was an artist that there is an artist that I've been listening to for a while named Ghostman, and he was doing like food review videos, and where I think he's from North Carolina, some city in North Carolina or whatever. And that was going for a minute, and then he just switched and went off to doing something else, you know what I mean? But that's to speak to your point, you know what I mean? Because when he did it, man, I thought you was a rapper. Now you doing food reviews. But
so you have to be careful with that, because you can grab people for something and then they'll stick around for like if you doing a food review series is different than like sharing that you like food and you're going someplace. Because if you start doing food reviews, then people are following you because you do food reviews, not because you're a rapper. And when you start rapping, they're like, well,
what about them pancakes?
Yeah, it's like,
that's delicious.
It's like, we don't care. We don't care about that.
You got a TV show off.
It's a dope TV show too.
Yeah.
So that's you have to be careful of that. I think it's how you curate it. That's why I say I think it can be casual, but it shouldn't. Like, it
shouldn't be a thing.
Yeah, that's why all my entities are separate in that manner, because I don't want people to be confused by one thing that they're here for, and then
spoken like a true businessman. All of my entities.
Well, I got a lot of them.
Yeah, it's
capitalism.
Yeah,
yep, got to. I'm a capitalist out here, not by choice.
All right.
But yeah.
So
all right.
That's all I got to say about that.
All right.
Well, what are y'all's thoughts on the new nomination?
Hey, it needed to happen.
Honestly, because now that Joe Biden has decided to, I don't know if you could. Some people would say he should have done it a while ago. Put his ego aside and put the country ahead of whatever his personal feelings are about, getting another second term as president. I'm glad he's not going to do this anymore, because as the lights are on. But you can just tell he's not there like he was before.
I'll ask a question.
Mm-hmm.
Who first broke the news to you?
You know what? I was working, and I just happened to something just popped up on my Instagram.
So Sunday.
It was Sunday.
I got the information Friday night. I think either Friday or it was Friday night.
You tapped in like that?
No, Academics posted. He had somebody posted 2 days beforehand, and it looked like it was somewhat fake news. But 2 days later, it came out.
I had heard murmurings, if you will, of the fact that Democratic leaders had talked to him and that it was potentially coming.
Yeah,
ahead of time, but I was still very hesitant to whether I was going to believe it or not. But that definitely on Friday. That started popping up about, people were saying, it's been reported that these people have talked to Joe Biden and he's going to do it this weekend. That's what I remember. And then it happened. I was scrolling through Facebook and I was like, people were talking about, what are the MAGA people going to do now that they don't have they can't say, let's go, Brandon. What's the new slogan going to be?
Oh my God. Put it to bed. That was one of the most tiredest. It's not even really slandering. And they thought that shit was corny. I mean, thought it was clever and it was actually corny.
Yeah.
There's a lot of corniness coming from that side of.
Yeah. How do you guys feel about, I always mess her
Kamala?
name up. Is it Kamala?
Yeah.
Kamala,
Yeah, that's what I thought it was, but I didn't want to,
As long as you don't mess it up as bad as Boosie.
I was going to say Kamala, but
he'll say it he'll be like, come on, Camila. Come on, let him out of jail, Camilla.
I mean, honestly, in my personal opinion, I'm not really a big fan, but I mean, he's better than Biden.
That's kind of how I feel.
Yeah, so
I mean,
that's kind of where we're at, unfortunately.
She's better than Biden for one reason. She's like not super old.
Yeah.
Like she's still a corporate Democrat.
Absolutely.
She still has the same ideas that Biden has. I don't think anything super progressive is going to, well, maybe but probably not anything super progressive is going to happen under her watch. I don't think she's the best candidate out there, in the same sense that Bernie was better candidate than Biden back in the day as well. Yeah. But
and Hillary, for that matter.
Yeah, but she is definitely. I don't know that people are trying to act like the polling's saying that she's going to do worse than Biden. I think she will actually do better.
No, I definitely think she's going to do better. But the thing about politics and the information we get about these candidates, and whether it be Donald Trump, Biden, or Kamala, is people don't really do their research on these candidates and spread false information about them. Mm-hmm. I mean, Trump pretty much is built on spreading false information, but that's not necessarily what I'm talking about. I'm talking about so the stat line with Kamala locking up thousands of black men actually isn't true.
Yeah, and her whole record on marijuana convictions, it's just it can all be debunked with a little bit of reading.
Right. So I was one of those people that actually believed that.
Barbershop talk.
Yeah, I actually believed that. And actually, it wasn't thousands. It was about 1,000 something. But get this, only
thousands.
But listen, only 45 of them were actually convicted.
Oh, okay.
So that's a big difference from thousands.
Yeah.
And then it comes down to, it was 45 people.
Well, you know who called this even before academics?
Who's that?
It's keeping music. Cardi B. Stay on her politics game.
Yeah. Y'all trying to say they about to have her at the DNC?
No,
probably.
I certainly hope
they have somebody to match up against.
They had Amber Rose.
That's what I'm saying. They got to have somebody to match Amber Rose energy, maybe.
That's not.
I'm not saying it's a good idea, but
I think the Democrats should match. Yeah. But at this point, I just can't be surprised at anything. Look, I'm sorry when they pulled Hulk Hogan up there, knowing his history.
Come on, man. He actually was. Probably he fit right in. He fit right into the program though. Really?
Yeah.
He fit right into the program. He literally a week before was brought up that he had some black girls promoting his beer line. And then
they fired her.
The next day she was fired, but in the press release when she got it was like, they had to cancel the event or blah blah blah. But then she sees him posting this same event,
but it's with all white girls.
With all white girls,
yeah.
So I mean, it kind of matches up to the situation, man.
I mean, Kid Rock went crazy.
Yeah, they love Kid Rock.
Hey, man, you know who I felt bad for?
You mess with me.
Yeah, I really felt bad for was Tim Scott. He went out and rented that white woman.
Yeah. And
still didn't get to be vice president.
God bless.
I mean, he
all
really,
that ass kissing he did, and then Trump picked a dude that couldn't stand him.
Yeah. Like this dude, I was like, didn't this guy say a whole bunch of terrible things about Donald Trump?
Yeah.
Wow. I was like,
look, I'll say this much.
Yeah.
She's going to get my vote. And for one reason alone, because she's black.
See, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that because
I'm doing it because she's a black woman. Look, I got two choices.
Yeah.
The white man that somewhat don't really mess with me.
Not somewhat.
Yeah.
He don't mess with you.
And then I got the black woman.
I'm not voting for him because I don't rock with him.
So all you got is the black woman.
Look, I don't want to make it sound like
you could vote for Cornel West.
I could, but then that's just a vote for Donald Trump.
Exactly.
Maybe.
Look, if it comes down to the AKAs or the KKK,
boom.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I don't ever look at this as there's two options. I know a lot of times, like here in the States, like we look at it like we have like Democrats and Republicans.
I will vote independent.
But I guess what I'm saying, well, maybe from like not from, all right. So like when we look at how everything is, it's like Democrat or Republican. I don't look at it like Democrat and Republican. Uh-huh. I look at it like capitalist, corporate, and socialist.
Yeah.
Or more for the people, not even full blown socialist. And so when I look at it that way, Democrats are just a little bit more to the left, a little bit more to the left than Republicans. And so they're always going to be the better option. Mm-hmm. So the vote, no matter blue, no matter who, just makes sense in that case from from like the presidential standpoint.
Or a human standpoint.
Yeah, but more so from a presidential standpoint, because there really are only two choices.
Yeah.
But when you go to like the primaries and you're choosing like Bernie or Biden,
definitely,
it makes more sense for people to support the candidate. In my opinion, that's where it makes sense for you to flex what you really believe in.
Right.
I agree.
Absolutely.
You know, like, yes, cool. Vote for Bernie because, yes, it's just Democrats or whoever is in that specific role for whatever that is. But when it becomes presidential at that point, then it's just typically between two pieces of shit.
Absolutely. And all
And then-
skinfolk ain't
I think-
kinfolk.
I
Because
think
if
that-
Tim Scott was running, you ain't voting for his black ass, are you?
No.
Yeah.
I think ultimately I feel that way about all politics, though. Your point about, you know, politicians being POSs, you know what I mean? And most of the time, they not even really giving you they true beliefs. You know what I mean? They talking heads.
It's because once we bring it to like the forefront of the major politics, like usually who's running for governor when it's like a Republican and whenever it's a Republican and a Democrat, it's always corporatist candidates. Which means it's always about big money and what they get behind. So it's never
Agendas.
Very rarely do you get somebody that sneaks into that Democrat role that's actually somebody that cares more about the people than the donors.
And the donors are the reason why Kamala is now the candidate.
Exactly.
Because they're the ones that were funding the campaign and seeing that Biden was slipping. So they decided that, hey, we're the ones funding this. We're not putting any more money behind Biden. So y'all need to go ahead and get him up out of here, or we need to figure something out. It wasn't even necessarily about the popular vote or what the polls were saying at this point. It was like, we're not putting no more money behind him. So y'all need to make this decision.
And also with that, correct me if I'm wrong, but she gets all the money that the Biden campaign was getting as well to go up. And
It's not that simple. Because
I wondered about that because they are two different candidates.
Yes, and so there is an option to where those donors can actually ask for their money back.
Okay.
Okay. And so,
which I think that should be what
but
it
then
is.
when you saw like how much money she raised in like 48 hours.
Oh yeah, she went
Okay.
crazy.
Like even if they ask for their money back, it's just they're writing another check. You know,
I see.
And so they might not have been, like I said, you got to follow the money in this situation.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't think they were going to throw a lot of money behind Joe Biden. I think it came down to that. It also comes down
They
to the
actually
fact.
already did though. Like they literally showed a pie graph of how much money they've thrown to Biden versus how much Trump has spent. Biden was in the millions. Trump was at like 50 grand.
What?
As far as
people?
No, as far as money spent for like promoting the campaign or whatnot.
Mainstream media promotes him so much that he didn't have to spend the money.
That's true.
too.
Interesting.
You know, but the thing is, like, and this surprises people when I tell them, I was like, I voted Republican before, not in the national election, you know, because when it comes down to, this is the thing, this is where I get into it with people, you know, when they say, it's like, you know, lesser of two evils, I was like, you know, that's not the only thing on the ballot.
Nah.
Okay. So,
Republicans gonna put some money in your pocket.
you know, it depends. Like the person I might vote for, I don't know. I'll just break it down because you understand. Depending on where you live, you might vote for dog catcher. You know, you vote for these judges. You know, you vote for your alderman. You vote for your comptroller. If it's something concerning money in that way, I voted. That's where I vote Republican.
Yeah, I was literally telling somebody that at work today about how I have not always only voted Democratic.
I never straight. I never have voted straight ticket.
There needs to be a balance in the force. Essentially, that's how I kind of break it down. There needs to be some Republican power. There needs to be some Democratic power. It shouldn't be.
I don't think so.
I do because.
It depends on the positions.
Certain policies, in certain positions, certain policies, Democratic, I don't believe in how they sway, and certain policies, well, a lot of policies, Republican, I don't believe in how they sway. So I think there needs to be a balance of some kind to where one party can't control everything.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That, you know, because that doesn't necessarily stand for everybody's personal beliefs.
Again, that goes with my framing, right? So that I mentioned earlier, I think Democrats are the right. I think we just don't have any type of a left party in the United States. And if we did have somebody that did have a representation of an actual left, then I would agree with you.
So you're saying it's more center right and then just far right.
Democrats are center right in the world.
Right.
You know, and so it's just in the United States where we're super conservative, where our left party is also corporatist, also to the right on that. So I understand what you're saying. I think there should definitely be competition in that aspect, I just think it needs to go the other way. And that's when I see a lot of people who aren't super into politics and they're like, well, I don't like Biden, so I'm going to vote for Trump. I'm thinking
That doesn't make
you're
sense.
going the wrong way.
Yeah.
And so, but it's not a mainstream thought. We don't really have any type of real significant leftist movement in this country at all.
Because
it's
everybody calls it
it's still a
communism.
It's still like one of those red scare words. People hear it and they automatically go, "Oh no, not that."
Well, a
You
lot
know,
of people
so-
think, they're afraid of the word socialism because it just rhymes with communism. They can't even really define it. It's kind of like
Nobody
when
can define it.
It's kind of like when women will, if they want to get under a man's skin, they'll call him a narcissist. But if you ask them to actually define the word, they're at a loss. So I think there's a sorry, ladies. No, and I just think that especially when we talk about, voting down ballot and when you have to really look at what's going on. This is the thing with Republicans on sometimes it depends on where you were in a local or maybe in a statewide. They don't have to bow to the crazy, Project 2025 stuff, about I'm reading it right now. And yeah, scary stuff, man. Anybody that's almost, it's like they're saying the quiet part out loud and it's available for you to read.
Yeah.
So they're saying it has nothing to do with Trump, but he literally was co-signing this under a whole different name.
The people who wrote
It's the
this
Heritage.
worked for him.
It's the Heritage Foundation. So
yeah. And
she's adopted a lot of that stuff. So
and the Republican Party platform is not that far off from what they're talking about in Project 2025.
It's been something like that going on. Like they've been having these discussions low key as far as Republicans for quite some time. I want to say about a year or two ago, I was bartending some event that young Republicans were doing. I remember Fanchon Stinger, she was like the head host of it.
59.
Yeah, she was talking about like, what we're going to do, and we got something for those people because our guy.
Yeah.
Did somebody brush her wig? That was a problem when I saw her on TV. I was like,
trouble.
how do you not have your wig brushed?
God bless.
You had to take that mug to the cleaners.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, come on, sister, you got to know somebody that can help you out.
Yeah. So that's my that's what I feel like I continually try to have conversations about this stuff is just like we can look a little bit more to the left a little bit. And I think it makes more sense like in the primaries and in the local type related things. It's like we talked a little bit last week about the Republican National Convention where they had a Teamster on.
Mm-hmm.
That's very progressive.
That's very, very, very left.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's nothing in that aligns with Republican values at all.
I think Trump was trying, that's part of Project 25 though, is them getting rid of unions, right?
For sure.
I haven't gotten that part.
But that's conservatism in general.
Yeah.
It's just anti-workers' rights, which socialism is all about giving. It's taking away one owner of something and putting it into the workers' hands.
Mm-hmm.
That's literally what the definition is,
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyways, we're going to get off here. We'll be back next week. The full episode will drop Thursday on New Old Heads YouTube and all podcast apps. And we'll be back with May 7th, maybe next week.
Maybe.
We'll find out.
But Nick,
He'll be back.
You know how you like to do.
Yeah, so appreciate Brother to the Night, of course, as
Yes,
always.
indeed.
Stepping in.
Anytime.
Fit right in, as always. And we'll see y'all next week.